Hello friends, today is a special one. We're going to do Tom Machanhill's interview and stories and goodness knows what else. It's a bit like a Tales from the Vaults, but it's not a Tales from the Vaults. And yeah, so before we start this podcast, a few shout outs. One to Auntie Mandy, whoever she is. So yeah, big shout out to her. Another shout out goes to Sammy Forage, whoever she is. Another shout out goes to whoever else, I'm not sure. Anyway, I did have a script, but I've forgotten. So just before I start, with Tom Machanhill and go straight into it, the meat and potato, I kind of want to say this, right? That in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing a live stream over on, it'll be the following day. So the podcast will go out here on a Friday, and then the Beans World show will be on Bigo on Saturday, and on there we'll do live Q&As. I'm not entirely sure yet. It'll probably be a bit more of I'm not entirely sure what it's going to be, but it's going to be something or other. So yeah, and I'll be doing DJ streams over there as well. I'll be doing preparations, a lot of preparation stuff. So it'll be preparation, a lot of prepping for things. But then again, there will also be Let's Plays on there. It's going to be a real hangout over there. If you want to come over and say hi, and if you want to come over and stuff like that. So it's going to be a real Beans World club. And then, if people are really interested, because obviously I'm going to be talking about the projects that I'm working on properly and things like that. So yeah, and if you're really interested, this is if you're really interested, because I don't know if people will be really interested. I'm not entirely sure if they will. If they're really interested, there's going to be a Patreon, hopefully, somewhere along the line. And that will just be exclusive club shite, won't it? I'm not entirely sure. So, anyways, this is the first part. I'm going to do... This is the interview with Tom Machanhill. The first part of it's pre-recorded. The next part of it is coming on live because I had to rush the first part of it. So sit back, grab some popcorn and enjoy. Yeah, we are going to go till 1:40 and then I'm going to shoot down there. Yeah, so I'm going to go about 2:00ish. At the phone charge and stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I wasn't going to be involved in all that shit, basically. Were you there when it all happened? And oh yeah, quite a few times. Well, they came to my door a few times. Because I was living, I had my parents' house when it's a bit difficult to explain. That got sold. And then I had my house, and then I had my auntie's house. And I had to stop him from going to my auntie's house. That was difficult. They all went there in their big 4x4s and motorbike gangs, and it was a nightmare. And I used to take going around Ainsdale, because they used to go into it. Well, no, that wasn't Ainsdale. Yeah, Ainsdale. I'm trying to think of the club that they used to go to, and there'd be fights and God knows what, and there'd be the Coliseum. I used to have to stay out there. I remember I was in the Coliseum once with a couple of friends, and I was buying an E for a friend, and as I was doing that, these people came in, and oh gosh, and it was, oh yeah, you got a bit of this, you got a bit of... I thought, no. What is it now, lads? Is it, is it this, is it that? And I knew he was on the run because he was on the run. It turned out he wanted money to go into rehab. And I said, you're going to frickin' rehab? I says, you'll sweat the frickin' whatever it is out. It turns out me and a few friends, we got some money together and get him into rehab. But it was like, he had 7,000, whatever it was, Irish money back then. It was before euros. He had all that. And I found a big tin of all, and suitcases full of money. Suitcases full of money, and suitcases full of money back then was a big thing. You knew something was not right. And he tried to buy a gun as well at this time. So as he was getting into rehab, he was trying to buy a gun. And he was also trying to get rid of this gear. And I hit the roof and I said, I've got a gun, because I did have a gun. But I wasn't giving it him. And I said, look, I've got a gun, I can protect you, whatever it is. And, I had 3 guns, but this gun that I had safe somewhere. So I said, look, I'll get the gun out. I says, you can have the gun in rehab, but you're going to have pellets, no freaking bullets. I said, because you'll shoot yourself to death, because he was high on whatever it was he was. And also, there was a bit of stuff happening. Turns out they weren't letting him have the gun, so I got the gun back. I had to go to the police station to pick it up. And then I said, right, no, what else happened? Oh, yeah, and then I found out when he came out of rehab, he was trying to buy another gun. Didn't think I knew about it. Because at the time, I bought another gun for something else that I was doing, and he wanted to buy a gun. And I thought, what does he want to buy a gun for? And I knew, because I got... back then it was all on mail order, and I saw it all traced back to the post office, which could only mean one thing. So I didn't tell him that I had anything on me, and so when he got his weapon, he rang me up and said, you've got some bullets, haven't you? I said, no, I've got no ammunition, I got rid of my weapons. But he found out that I had a gun, but I had no ammunition. Well, I did, but he wasn't having it, so he had to buy his ammunition somewhere else. I think he got it off a farmer, I can't remember. It was a settlement for something, but I can't remember what the hell it was now. Settlement for something stupid. But he was always high and always had dealings with the police. And the police broke into his flat at the time. And they found all kinds of stuff. They found all kinds. They found narcotics, money. They found all kinds of stuff. Kit to grow. They found a lab. They found it all. I'd fallen out with him back then because something he did that I wasn't happy with. I'll just leave it at that. Because family, things that happen in family shall stay in family, and some of it will rot in the family, believe me, you. And I know some of the friends I've broke up with and stuff like that, but none of it that's, none of the stuff that's happened in the family and relations in the family and whatever, because the terrible stuff happens, and this stuff becomes linked, and like very quick. This other cousin that I knew, he'd gone over to Portugal. Now, if you're educated, back then you could get a property next to nothing, and I mean next to nothing. Dirt cheap. People were going over to Portugal, so this would have been early 2000. And I get a phone call from the property dealer in Portugal because they said, we hear you'd like a house, Mr. Machanhill. And at the time, I had my name down for a property, because if you wanted a property over in Portugal, back then you had to be pretty quick. You couldn't be. You couldn't be. You had to be slapdash about it anyway. You had to get on a list for a property over there, straight on it. And at the time, I was just thinking about it. But because people might, blah, blah, I thought, I'll get my name on. But what no one knew was I took it off. But they kept it. And I says, I'm not interested now. Well, we believe we've got you down. I says, yes. I says, but I'm not interested in a property now. I put the phone down. I then gets a call from my solicitor here in the UK. And they said, is it Mr. Tom Machanhill? We're their solicitors. I said, yes, what's the problem? They said, we believe you've bought a house over in Portugal. I hadn't. I'd been put on the list. But what happened was, one of my cousins, they'd got 2 houses over in Portugal and put one of them in my name without telling me, because I was transferring them the money over to them, so they could pay the house. And it wasn't a lot. Well, it wasn't a lot then. It was something like £200. No, it was lower than that. I think it was like £130 a month. So it was £130 a month, which I used to put aside. I used to put 2-3 grand away for Portugal, so I could pay 140 quid each month, or 240 it must have been, for this stupid house. And it was, anyway, what I found out was, right, it was £440 it had gone up. Then the following year it had gone up to 1,200, it was going up and up. And they said, that my solicitor said, it's a good job you've bailed out now. He said, because what's happened is you bought a house and you've sold it. I said, I'd done nothing of the sort. I was helping them buy a house because they'd already had a house. And what happened was, the property people in Portugal, by then, in 2005, had bought their house. They were then living in my house, the one that I didn't want. I wasn't bothered about it. Luckily, I wasn't. So I said, well, I won't send them any more money because they've got it. I said, they've got whatever it is. And my solicitor said, well, you pay £6,000 now and that'll be the end of it. Pay them the £6,000. I said, where are you now? They said, oh, we're going to America. Oh my gosh. They bought a house. What it was, they'd sued the guy that got their property. They'd sued him, not knowing, not fully reading up on things, because he was in every right to have their house. Every right. And this is why, people back then, you buy properties, but you don't fully buy it. That's why they were dirt cheap. If you buy something for dirt cheap, you get everything you get. And properties in Portugal, they were going up by the wherever it was. And people knew. And then they started doing it over here. Cheap apartments. Oh, you buy a cheap apartment with no string. This is a thing. It says no strings attached. When it says stuff like that, you don't fully own it. You don't fully own it because with a dirt cheap apartment like that, it would have costed you. Students love stuff like that. Oh, we can buy a property for, £200-300, which is fine. But then, and stuff goes and then it's like nothing. A lot of people that were buying these properties a lot of these people, you could tell that they were either students with loans or people thinking they could get something good, and they were jumping off that, that thing. The other time, and this is another thing as well, I had, I don't want to go too much into this, I had TV shares. Sorry, not TV shares. I had timeshares. I sold them because at the time that sort of investment was a gamble, and you were gambling all the time every time you invested. So it was they were telling you all of the things you'd read up on it. It'd be like you've got to jump off one boat to get on the other one, and wait till it comes back around. It doesn't matter if you miss the boat here because it'll always come back around and there'll be something else. And there was, and it came in. This thing came in and it was wow, and it did me. And I bought this timeshare, and that I spoke to a financial advisor on the phone, and they were saying, yes, Mr. Machanhill, but you don't want to buy this because if you buy that, whatever investment, you won't take, so don't do this. Make sure, and at the time, they said, buy an insurance thing, whatever it was. You can pay it off, right? Well, I won't say how much it is and where it is, but let's just say it's a nice little earner. And it's put away. And hopefully when I retire in a few years, I'll have that and all the other money. And I won't be the richest bloke in the world, but I'll be the happiest. Some of the richest people I've met, as you fully well know, are not happy at all, and they're looking for the next best thing, and the next best thing will never come along because they've not invested their money properly and they've spent it on stupid things. So yeah, that's mainly that. Mostly footballers. I had a friend who was a footballer, and he went and threw all his money at the football club in Bolton. Not Bolton, sorry, in Blackpool, when they pulled out the Premiership. And everybody was telling, do not invest in this club. You will lose your money. And he was a footballer. He actually played for not Preston North End. He played for a big team. He did his stint at Everton. He retired early. This is how stupid he was. Retired early. He had about... he had 6 or 7 million in his pocket, let's put it that way, which was a lot back then. It was a lot of money. And when he said, I'm gonna put £12 million into Blackpool, he lost the lot. Oh my gosh, he lost. I mean, he still had a bit over. You know, he wouldn't have done it. He wasn't that stupid. He still had money, but he didn't have the money he could still live happily, we'll put it like that. But he was, and he was a footballer. And then the other footballer friend, who bought villas here, there and everywhere, and he'd bought a clothing company, and he was doing the Monopoly, and he bought this, that, and the other. He had about 3 or 4 companies sitting in his back pocket, and 2 of them went bust, and he lost quite a fair bit overnight. And he came to me, and I said, I told you what to do in the beginning. I said, don't buy this, don't buy that. You won't make your money here. But he wouldn't listen, because people with money won't listen. They just won't. Oh, yeah, I can have that nice shiny car. Oh, shiny things. Shiny, exactly. And the thing is, he had a girlfriend, and she was gorgeous. He lost her as well, but that's another story. He went and slept. He stupidly, he went and had, behind her back, he went and had sex with 2 girls in the same, yeah, and she caught him at the act. It was at a hotel, and she went out the room, and yeah. But it had been going on for a long time, and he'd been leading people along, and I lost touch with him because he was a slimy rat in the end. Because what he'd done was, he'd gone. It was when we went to Vegas. He was one of the ones that arranged it. Went to Vegas. They were all slimy rats who we went to Vegas with. But anyway, he was the slimiest of the slimiest. A few of them were all right, but he was like always in the bar, hiding in the bar, always calling a bluff. He was one of those people. And, sorry, I'm talking gambling here, and he was always, and he lied. We were doing, there was a time when I was quite heavily at gambling. Not that it wasn't an addiction, but gambling was a pastime hobby. We did it. We all did it. We'd play a little bit. I used to put, I'd have £200 or £300. But when I went away with these people to Vegas, they'd have thousands in their pocket. It'd be, it's all right here, lads. I've got 12 grand. Like, shut the hell up. Because when you, in Vegas, you walk up to the table and you don't show them the money straight, because it's, when you go buy chips, because say your chips are there and your chips are there, if you walk up to the table and you say, hey, I see you 5 grand, that's straight money talk, that. And the Americans know it. The guys in Vegas know it. The people in Vegas, they don't like that sort of talk. They don't like you because they know, oh yeah, he's got money. He's going to play a high stake. He's going to lose, and we're going to win. And the sharks start coming. And the people I saw lose that 2 or 3 grand in the first night was absolutely ridiculous. And it's like, well, you've got to bail these people out, these slimy rats out, and give them money back. You know, give them a bit so they've got, I don't know, money to eat and stuff. Well, one of them, I didn't even give them money. I just bought food for them and whatever else they wanted. I think it was room service, and a TV and a phone. I said, that's it. That's your lot. Live on that for the rest of your holiday. I was angry because what I lost was nothing. I was told by a good friend at the time, when you go to Vegas, spend just a quarter of that, play with it, and really enjoy. Because if you lose it, it's fine. But if you go with all your money, you're going to lose and have nothing. And I had to bail. I had at the time, I had to go to the bank in Vegas. This was embarrassing because I only took, you could only take so much back then. But I had $18,000 with me. And I didn't spend it all. Excuse me. I didn't spend it all. I used my money wisely. And also I had, at the time, you could hold money back at the airport if needed, which nobody else did, but I did. But they didn't know that. So I had 12 grand sitting in the airport. Lovely. So that stayed in the airport for emergency, for a rainy day. Oh no, hold on, I did use a bit of that money. Yeah, I did use a bit of the 12 grand. And another one for you, when we went to Amsterdam. I've got to tell you this story. Just very quick, because I know you got to go. Yeah, end of part one. So, you know when you go to Amsterdam and they have a woman in the window, right? Well, we went with this guy who we will not name because he was an absolute knobhead. I will call him that. And he was well, I'll just say this night he took £250,000 out with him. Oh my gosh. Which he'd bought some cannabis. Now, just to go on with this, it was not your bog standard cannabis, right? It was the highest strength cannabis you could get over there. It was the highest strength, right? So he hadn't done that yet. And he'd also bought some, what was it? He'd also bought some shrooms, which he didn't take because I don't know why. He bought these shrooms, which I tried and had the best trip of my life on. I'll say that much. He bought some, he said it was rare, but it wasn't, because back then, I tested things. Even back then, I had a way of testing it. I had a bit of lab paper or whatever it is, which I, tested. And I tested this, I tested it and I knew it wasn't what he said. I'd never did ketamine. Well, not with him, because he was a complete knobhead. And you don't do ketamine with knobheads. You did ketamine, didn't you? Only when I damaged my knee, but that's another story. I've always had a bad time with ketamine, to be fair. It's it's not if you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna be tripping balls for a good few minutes. And he would. I heard that he mixed Ket with DMT. That's a big. That's a big play with death. If there's people that have died that way. He was doing speed and but he was doing it the right. The guy nearly died on the shit he did. Speedballs. What else? But I wasn't. I'd save his ass one time, but I won't go there. Anyway, he was in Amsterdam, and he bought this stuff, and he decided he was going to check out the ladies, do a bit of window shopping, right? He was in there for hours. And I waited for him because the reason I did that was because I knew what he was like. And I thought, the pimps are around the corner, and they have in Amsterdam, they give you a time, they give you a limit, right? It's not like the brothels he'd been to where you could pay, I don't know, 40, 50 quid and get your money's worth. In Amsterdam, it's not that way. You pay your money and you move around a bit, we'll say that much. Right? Oh my God. So I'm thinking, shit, the pimps are going to come out any second. We're going to be in trouble here. And there was cars around the corner and God knows what. And the red light district over there is very dangerous. If you don't know, it's very dangerous. And he's in there, and he's smashing it. And I'm thinking, right, get out there while you can, finish and get out. And this girl, apparently, I didn't know till he was done, and she was done, that apparently she wasn't from Amsterdam. I'll say that much. I won't say where she was from or anything like that. I don't want to give it away. But he knew her, and she knew him. So she gave him extra. So what's she doing over there? Was she... Well, she had a... Yeah. Yeah, we'll say that much. But he was always... And another thing that happened was we went in the cafes. Now, the rule in Amsterdam is you do not smoke weed just anywhere. Because the feds over there, they're pretty friendly when you're in a cafe because it's in a zone. You smoke weed in a zone in Amsterdam. You don't just smoke weed. And this is what people don't understand. And I'm like, if you want to smoke your weed, smoke it there. I would not be told. Do not smoke out the hotel because people in the hotel will literally be on you like rice. Right? Oh, yeah, and that was another thing as well. He took 15... what was it? He took 300 grams of weed back to his hotel. Oh, my gosh. Right? And they knew about it. It was seized, the lot. That weed was seized. And it was good. It was good weed as well. So yeah, he was a bit of a... I fell out with him as well over something completely different. But I fell out with him after Amsterdam because we were pretty good friends. I mean, he was a knobhead, but he was an all right knobhead in Amsterdam. It's when he left. When we went to London with a few people, and we decided to do some gambling at a table, and it was not in a casino, it was in a pub, and we were just doing some friendly gambling. But because he'd been in prison before that, he knew that in prison they do this shadow hand thing, because then no one knows the gambling's kind of all sort of turned down in prison, because it's not well advertised. They don't want it to be. And he had a bit of a luxury in gambling, but he was doing this thing called shadow hand, where you don't show them your hand. And all through the night, he wasn't showing his hand, and it just went from one thing to another, and he'd also borrowed money. Oh my gosh. So you can see where that led. I had to defuse the situation, but I said, never again will I be drinking with you again, and never again will I be getting you out of problems. Because the next time you end up in shit street, you stay in shit street. Yeah, and we all know that when you go down shit street, I did a video on my other channel just about shit street and the road that some people go down. And I think that's an important thing to note in this interview, that you go down one road and go down another, and one thing leads to another, and as it does, people aren't visible to what you're telling them, and it could be anything, and people don't want to be educated, and that's just a human being. It's like part of our protective part of ourselves, but then you start stumbling into danger because you're protecting yourself. It's fear in a way. People say that fear is a form of protection, but it's a stupid form of protection, because the things you fear and you're trying to stum away from. But once you end up down, because people are in that comfort zone, whether it be drugs, alcohol, food, money, whatever, once they stumble down that path and there's... Excuse me. Yeah, once they start stumbling down that path, they can't get back from it, away from it, which is the dangers of going down Poop Street, or going down the slippery slope. Poop Street's nothing. It's once you hit the slippery slope, as they call it, and you slide into the abyss, which we probably will be talking about a lot in this interview. Yeah. Mainly because most of my life has been on a slippery slope. Drink and drugs, women, That sounds like the slippery slope that I like to be on. With me, it's something else, but, you know, what's yours? Drink, food. It's drink, chocolate ice cream, and women. That's not a bad combination, that. I like that. Everybody likes that one, you know. But you do know that sex and chocolate, that's not a good mix. Yeah, that's a story not for this channel. No. But it's I mean, there was another friend who he was called Motor Mick, and he was a speed freak. And I mean, that's where he got his name Motor Mick from, because he was a speed freak. He was an absolute... He was a great guy to be with, because everybody took speed, and speed was... That time, you know, speed, people weren't putting shit in stuff. They weren't trying to get people ill or kill people. It was like you knew what you were doing. And people were freaking... All these medicine balls, you know, you saw them like... and all the speed freaks would have that... All the people on the speed, they'd have these medicine balls. And we went to the casino in Wigan. We went round Blackpool. And when you're on speed, they are the best nights of your life. They are the best nights of your life. And we did all kinds, steroids. We did all kinds of amazing things. We did... we did two OXE, which is nitrous oxide mixed with some form of gas. But they mixed that. I mean, that was a little bit laced because it had something else in it, but we knew what was in it. And we only took stuff that we knew what it was. You know, LSD. We took pure LSD because we knew what that was. We took other stuff, and the amazing nights we'd have. But Motor Mick was a friend who he'd travelled a lot. He lived literally... He was really rough. He was homeless, but he loved being homeless. He loved it. He had his reason, because then homeless then was different, and people were more accepted to... They didn't know, kind of then. It was like a choice. And he decided to live on the streets, basically, for a while. And everybody knew he was living the streets. Everybody. Was he the guy that lived on Neville Street? Slept on Neville Street? No. He never slept on Neville Street. It's always been a bad street, that, because it's near the front. No. He... Didn't he sleep on the scrapyard? No, that was another guy. No. He slept in an alleyway. I mean, he's got himself settled now. He's... From what I've been told... did you fall out with him or? No, I didn't fall out with him. He ran away and nobody heard of him. He literally was. Well, he went missing. But he could. Back then, he could hold himself together. And on that note, I've got to go, because you've got to go. Hey, when you've got to go, you've got to go. And that's it for this week's podcast. There isn't really much to say. But I've spoke to Tom, and he's gonna come back and do the rest of that. Hopefully next week. I've got a real treat for you next week, because it's fictional bands and record labels, and that's next week. And hopefully I'll have Bigo by next week too. And so I'll be doing live streams on the Saturday. What I will do is I will do a YouTube live stream on the Saturday as well. So I'm doing 2 live streams. Basically, more of the same thing to build up the subscriber base, but more kind of to build up the whole kind of Beanswell Club, if that is what you're interested in. And yeah, and there you have it. There's your dose of Beans World Show for you folks. I think as well, I think it's showing up. You know, I've just looked at my stats on my YT Studio, and I've realised that 96% of you watch, but you don't subscribe. So come on, guys. You know, it doesn't cost anything. Hit the sub button. And, yeah. And you'll get to see more of this content. And if you want to see anything else, you can hit the notification and you'll be notified when there's a brand new video around. Which there is one for tomorrow. There is 2 videos tomorrow. We're going live tomorrow. And all the rest of it. So it's a big week for the Beans World 77 crew, because we got all kinds of stuff happening. And also, I'm working on another video as well. So stay safe, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.